over your shoulders while your hands are on the keyboard still, and they're just like...
That's sexual harassment.
Sure, some of the jokes that were said in the 70s, like Kevin...
Oh, fair. But like it's just so well placed. Like the
We all picture the same cat floating through space.
Yeah,
when you hear
absolutely.
that song.
The guy, like that guy's only claim to fame was that song. Like somebody just scooped that random song, just slapped it on a video, and that was it. And that guy rocketed into.
Right? Oh, that is the definition of that's not what I intended.
I'm a serious artist. Yeah, we sure you are.
Yeah.
Have I heard any of your work? Yeah, I do the song that goes pew pew pew.
No, because he'll probably name the full name. He's like, I made the song called whatever. Insert name here.
No, okay, buddy. Tell that to the Space Pop-Tart cat. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's the worst part about all of that is like. You got $0 from that whole... Like, your song is super popular, and you got no money for it. Like, because that's all...
Yeah.
That's all stolen art. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I never listened to it outside of, like, that.
No.
I never even listened longer than that segment of time that plays on the song. Like, whatever, like 10, 15 seconds. That's the only part that I've ever heard of that song. So, it could be something completely different.
Yeah. That's it. There's probably words to that song. We looked it
Meow, meow, meow.
We looked it up one time. I don't remember if we even listened to the whole thing.
Did we? I don't remember.
Yeah, we did. That was a while back. Wonderful. Does anyone have any stories that have happened in the last few days? Anything interesting happened to any of you?
No.
Oh, fair
I
enough.
got excited.
Oh, yeah?
No, I got excited. I thought he had something.
I thought you were gonna like be like, I'm so excited to tell this story.
I'm so excited that no, I got nothing.
You know me. Usually I'm kind of hyperventilating if I have something good to talk about.
Fair.
Yeah, fair. Well, welcome to the Life Podcast. I'm here this morning. My name is Eric, and I'm here with Tyler.
Good thing you're here, huh?
Yeah. And Veggie.
Hello. Sounds legit.
Listen, I was so tired this morning. I was trying to like punch in an email onto the thing so we can send out a thing, and I'm typing out this dude's like website address. Like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this accepting it as a valid email address? And it just says blank.com, and I'm just like, why isn't it working? And then I'm like, oh, that's not an email.
Yeah.
It took me like 4 minutes.
My boy's a heavy hitter.
I'm going to send my email, ericgoogle.com.
Yeah, ericgoogle.com. Why isn't it accepting it? I mean, good thing there's a safety thing on there, because I would have been like, accept, boom, it's an email sent, guys.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, you know, like you get to, we're not going to talk about any specifics, but like it's something to be so secure in how baller you are when you have a Gmail address and you don't even care. Like, it's just like...
Yeah,
listen, I'll let the money do the talking.
Yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. Like this guy owns like a block, maybe 2 blocks in total, and this is like, yeah, no, it's blank 6789 at gmail.com.
Yeah, legit. Like not even
At
joking.
AOL.com.
Yeah, like seriously.
My dad made an AOL email like 2 years ago. I was like,
What?
how does that even happen? Yeah.
Benji, holla at me.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that.
That's pretty impressive. Like, what do you do that? AOL.com? I'll go make one.
AOL.com even exists?
I don't know.
It
That's what I'm
does.
saying.
It does.
I think that's the craziest thing. Like, how did AOL get wrecked so hard? Like,
Yeah.
they were the only person to provide internet in, like, the entire country
Yeah.
And then
for
everyone said,
years.
we don't need you anymore.
Well, I mean, like, you
You
know,
have
security.
DSL.
Yeah.
Yeah, security comes with stagnancy. Like, it's like kind of like Kodak. The same idea where Kodak made digital cameras, and then they were like, nobody's going to take digital pictures. And then they went bankrupt. It's like AOL. AOL was probably like, nobody needs to surf the internet faster than this. And then...
Wrecked.
And Netflix. There's so many stories like that, actually, now that you think of it. Like, Blockbuster being like, nobody will ever watch movies
Blockbuster
to
blew it.
stream movies. And it was like, got the opportunity to buy Netflix for $2 million.
Yeah, and they were like, no, why would we do that?
Why would we do
We're
that?
doing just fine.
Yeah. people like the experience. Yeah.
Close.
That's it. People like the experience of coming to a store and interacting with people and buying a movie directly or renting a movie directly. And it was, like the whole generation was like, watch this.
Yeah, right. You may think that's what we like to do.
Yeah.
No.
This is the only alternative.
Forget you and rewinding tapes.
Yeah, right. Well, why would you want to even get screamed at for not rewinding like your like skateboarding videos?
Get an attitude every time.
Man, these things happen. Redbox is we noticed doing a streaming platform too now.
I'm about to say because they're already like 3/4 cooked into the grave.
Yeah, I think the
know.
only thing keeping them going is their streaming platform. Because I don't go to Redbox. I see a couple people use it every now and then, but I don't think it's enough. Unless they're already paid off. If they're already paid off, then who cares?
Listen,
Leave them where they are.
Right. The only way that Redbox actually like makes any money is people who like can't afford to have internet.
Yeah,
Fair.
exactly.
Hey, I was actually saying it. I was like, listen, if I didn't, I don't pay for my Netflix account, so shout out to Netflix for letting me still do that.
Me too.
But like, it's like one of those things. I don't watch enough TV to pay like $10 a month.
Yeah.
But like once or twice a month, I want to watch a movie. It's like I could pay $1
I'm
and just go,
the same way.
and I could just go watch, or I could just stream it on Netflix.
Stream it on Netflix for free because
Not Netflix. On Redbox. I can
Oh,
just
yeah.
stream it there and just watch one movie, and then I'll be good. I don't have to pay like $10 a month, $10 a month, $10 a month, because I don't watch that much TV like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, fair enough. I mean, there is obviously a market share because they're still around, and they wouldn't be here if they're not capitalizing on something.
Hey, if
But,
they
you know.
have the vending machines paid off, what's really stopping them from
Yeah.
going on? Like, what
Fair
overhead is there?
I mean, how much could it possibly cost to make one of those vending machines? Like,
I can't imagine much.
I think there's like a fair upkeep cost because how many people rent like a Redbox movie and just like never return it
I've never
or like
seen
break it?
well, you just
or, like,
charge them, right? You don't pay cash, do you?
No, they just charge the card that it was done.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
just
so
keep
like if you
it
don't
over.
return it, it's like, oh, you just got like a $25 charge on your card, and they're like, go ahead, keep it, bro.
Fair enough, yeah,
We just sold it to you.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
I mean that also relies on people having money to
I've
cover a $25 charge, but that's not
Well, yeah, that's
That's
a different
neither here nor there.
problem. Yeah, that's
get a card number generated and just
Yeah.
like rent your $1 movie, get the movie, and then like cook the number right as soon as you leave.
yeah. I mean, that's always a
exactly.
bust.
I'm sure they
that's-
get hit with that a lot.
all the time. But I'd say
All the time.
all the time. I don't know why that came out like that.
That was beautiful.
All the time. Anyways, we're gonna leave that right there. I've never seen anybody like maintain a Redbox. Like I've seen people maintain like vending machines everywhere.
Yeah,
I've never seen someone open up one of those red boxes.
I wouldn't want to.
I wonder what hour they do it. They do it like the most absurd hour.
It's 2 a.m. Just got the Redbox guy rolling up, like swapping out all the movies.
Looking left and right, making sure no one's watching him.
They got like an armored truck.
Yeah, right.
Runs up.
Yeah. They do games though. They're trying to like expand. I just don't know if there's enough market share for them. Like they're trying to do like the Xbox and PlayStation games and everything like that, which is already going to download. So I don't even know how you're supposed to market.
See you later,
that.
GameStop. Watch them go right down the drain.
Dude.
I'm giving you 2 years.
Games. I mean, I think this is one of those things where maybe games. I don't know, because it's a lot of money for a game, and there's something in me that says if I'm gonna pay that much money for a game, I wanna actually physically hold this thing.
Dude, games are like $60 to $100,
And it's like no
That's
savings.
crazy.
There's no savings when you go digital. Like if it was cheaper the digital stream, I'd say, oh no, goodbye GameStop.
All I'm saying with that is most people. I mean, especially the generations to come, like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can have it instantly though. I can have it at my house. I don't have to go anywhere. Oh, I
Yeah.
want to play this game now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that makes it a lot easier. I think that I like.
I don't have any
digital downloads.
self-control to wait to go to the store.
Yeah, but what happens if you forget your like, which I've done multiple times, like forget your login to the PlayStation.
Listen, guy cooked.
And then there goes all your games. Every dollar you spent.
You
They don't
can't
care.
Call PlayStation and be like, "Yo, I forgot my ID."
I forgot my ID, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you made the account when you were like 12.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite food?"
Yeah.
You're like,
Nice. Well, fair.
at the time, maybe pizza. No.
There's a bunch of these companies like this that are just on the brink of disaster. I cannot see how certain companies make money anymore. Like you just have to be pushing massive quantities of products, and I don't see these companies pushing these products. Like there's this company at the mall over here. They have this orange and blue logo. I genuinely don't remember what the name. It's kind of like a Hot Topic, but for like comic books and like stuff like that.
Newberry Comics.
Maybe one of those.
Or FYE.
Or the FYE, that's the one that I was thinking of.
Okay.
But Newberry Comics too is the same concept. I don't understand how they make money.
Well,
like
they've closed
their stuff's really expensive, and very niche. But like you have to be moving product.
Yeah, well, listen, nerd culture eats it up.
Fair.
That's the only reason why they're alive. Because actually, they start selling vinyl now again, like new vinyl.
Oh yeah,
which that's kind of a big thing because like their big sales were like CDs and albums, and then like now that nobody buys CDs and albums, it's like. What do we do?
Yeah, they tanked a little bit. They closed a lot of stores too, and now they sell like if you go into an FIE store, it's like a bunch of like little knickknacks and like little stuffed animals of whatever.
Yeah, it's
culture.
like the memorabilia stuff.
Yeah, and that's really and you got T-shirts. It literally all just merchandise is what they sell. And
it's funny. That's actually one of Scott's like favorite like stories like to complain about. And I went to FYE and I asked the kid behind the counter. I was like, "Hey, you guys can order albums and stuff, right?" I don't know. I just work here. But that's one of Scott's like favorite things because like he's so quirky and weird and eclectic with like his music choices that like he wants to find like these like one of a kind albums or like this album that hasn't been popular in like 30 years.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, you don't have it on your shelf? Like, can you order this? And that poor like 15-year-old kid behind the counter is like, oh.
Let me call my manager. Right.
Albums are coming back, like vinyl and everything like that is coming back. It's interesting to see. I had to go find some albums for a birthday gift a little while back.
Well, it's a big push from the actual artists, I believe, because they do make a much larger markup on that.
On vinyl?
Oh yeah, they get a larger percentage back on that.
Well, fair enough.
Versus like they're like 2% on streaming, they get like 40% on album, like on actual. Like vinyls.
Dude, vinyl's hot.
Yeah, so it's just like, so a lot of artists, like, they'll sell it on their own website. They'll make, like, a new album, and it's like, oh, you can buy the vinyl on the website. You know what I mean?
Or I think the number one thing, too, is, like, when people kickstart albums, be like, oh, for Kickstarter, you can get a digital download, you can get an album, and you can get, like, a T-shirt for $35.
Yeah.
Or $40. Like, worth it.
Yeah,
all day
so
long, worth it.
Yeah. As long as you have a vinyl player.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't even have a record player, and I got I got vinyls in my living room. I got a box of vinyls somewhere else.
Can't play none of them.
Yeah,
they're cool.
I close my eyes. I put my hand on it.
I feel the music.
I feel it. Can you feel it? Can you feel the analog?
Yes. It's interesting that like we've gotten to this point in society where we're so far gone into technology that we've all decided to just turn around and like go do stuff.
Can we do what we used to do? Because that was like way easier.
So like digital analog cameras, analog audio, like analog everything is coming.
You just bought an analog camera a week ago, and the thing comes in, and it's like the amount of manual labor that goes into this, like to actually use this camera. I'm sitting there, you have to like cock the thing, and then you have to unload it, and then you have to. It's a gun. It's literally.
By camera, I mean a gun.
You gotta be careful with what you say on it. And no, that thing is sick. I'm not gonna lie, and it's just crazy to think that like, and then you like, I see you go and you pull it out and you take a picture, and it's just like, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right. We'll see you in 3 weeks if that was a good shot.
Yeah, and that's the fun of it. Or like
reload.
Yeah, and you never want to take more than one because you're like, okay, there's like 36 shots of this camera, and that's it. That's all we got. And it's like, okay, so you just take one, and you're like, okay, that's it. And then you go and do something.
Yeah, and it's just like, all right, we'll find out if that was ever a good shot.
It's fun. It's interesting. And I kind of like this concept of like going back to basics and really going back and seeing stuff. Not for like the nostalgic of like, we were born in the wrong generation, man. And like I want to go back to the way that things were in a simpler time, man. And like, that's not really what the goal is for me.
That was good.
It's like,
man.
Far out, man. But like, I do
it's gonna
like
be a good time.
Yeah. Time. But yeah, there you go. We've burned through a second.
Well, what we got 30 seconds. I don't think the music industry has really ever lost that. ever since they started.
Mhm.
Like real musicians have always known like the analog's always
It's analog.
always where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, like we have like EDM and rap and hip hop and things like that, and even in like how do I say it? Even in like rock, people will be like, "Oh, I want digital effects. I want digital this. I want digital that." As digital advances, people still like it. It's a cheap alternative, but it doesn't
Much
replace.
cheaper alternative.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't replace the analog feeling. Everybody knows it.
Yeah,
And if-
absolutely.
And if you say, like, "Oh no, like all the digital effects are better or anything's better," it's like it's just because you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're ignorant.
Producing in a box is just the cheap alternative, but no, nothing beats analog. And it's one of those things where when you go back to it, it's like even when you go to college to learn this stuff, right? They start you on the analog stuff because they want you to learn where it began. They want you to learn the basics and the actual like hardware that everything digital is emulating.
Guy, right? Think
analog.
about it. It's like how many tape delays and just like passes that are all like analog passes. You're like,
Absolutely.
oh, I'm making a digital filter to replicate an analog sound.
It's all it is. It's literally all it is. It's a bunch of emulation of the real stuff. So yeah, but we'll be back. Stay
I feel like
tuned.
that's a deep topic.
With our real topic
Emulation of the digital stuff. That's interesting. Okay, sorry. Go.
Bye.
We would like to thank Anchor for sponsoring and hosting the Life podcast. So who are Anchor and what do they do? Anchor is the all-in-one platform that gives you everything you need to make and publish your podcast. And best of all, it's all free. Anchor allows you to use their creative tools to record and edit your podcast. No need for any fancy professional equipment. Sounds amazing, right? And we haven't even gotten to the best part. Anchor isn't just a recording and editing platform. They're a publisher too. This means that Anchor takes care of all of the hard stuff, like publishing to Apple and Google Podcasts, so you don't have to. So what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Another thanks to Anchor for hosting, publishing, and sponsoring the Life podcast.
I mean, I'm not like a Rotary like fanboy, but they're really cool, and I give respect where it's due. You know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, welcome back.
Hey.
And if you want to know what we're talking about, go check out Patreon. Rubber Ducks and Coffee Cups. It's only $1 a month, and that'd really support us. Thank you very much. Whoop.
Yay.
So today's topic is micromanagement and trusting your employees.
Yes.
So
Micromanagement in business.
So micromanagement, just broad definition, is actively participating in every aspect of your. What are you doing? Oh.
That's a joke for Patreon.
There you go.
I saw Benji get more and more angry.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
what
so
is that?
triggered.
I was like, what are you doing?
No, that's how it makes you feel.
No, exactly. No,
That was
yeah.
actually a really good example. Nice, Tyler.
There you go. That was. I just like. I'm surprised I didn't pick up on it a lot faster. Than,
You got the microphone. I was like, huh. and then when he started to fix his shirt, I was like,
yeah, and I was
And
like,
headphones.
yeah.
I was like, what is happening? But yeah, micromanagement is actively having your hands in the masa, actively participating in every part of your
Every
business.
detail.
Yeah, it's like asking Benjamin to explain that right now, but I would have to fix his mic, hold on to his headphones, and like physically grab his lips and move his lips to
Yeah.
make him talk.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people laugh at that because it's like, oh yeah, why would I ever do that? A lot of people do it. They may not grab your lips and do something, but like the amount of people I've worked for, where it's like, oh, I need you to get this job done, and you're like, okay, cool, and you start to get the job, you start doing the job, and they're like, no, it's like this, and then all of a sudden they do it their way because it's the only way they know how to do
Yeah.
it, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, then why did you just say for me to do it your way? Because that's a different thing to ask for, you know what I mean? Because if you be upfront about it, okay. But there's been a lot of people do that. Now, what are the effects of it? Like, first of all, I just saw this. Like, Benji was getting angry. So, like, first off, your employees get mad at you because that's just not. That's showing that you don't even trust them to figure out how to get it done.
Well, it's predetermined, and it's almost as if you don't trust yourself because you were supposed to train your employee.
Yeah.
It's like even if they have to do it a certain way, like your way or the highway. It's like one thing to be able to train Benjamin, like, hey, Benji, do it this way. I trained you for it, and then I ask you to do the job, and I walk away. I can watch you from afar. I can come and check up on you and be like, hey, everything's okay. Hey, this looks good. Okay, good. Not like, okay, Benjamin, I trained you. Do it. And then as you sit there at the computer and you're typing away, I stand right over your shoulders, put my hands over your hands, and just start typing on the keyboard too with you. It's like, no, hold on.
Listen,
let me do this.
it's funny, but that happens a lot in the music industry, in the studio, especially when you work with, like, if you're learning from somebody in someone else's studio and they're like trying to teach you something, right? So like you'll be the one in control as the intern, and then before you know it, because there's a million and one ways to get something done on a song. There's just so many different options to get it done, and like, just as far as like an echo, you know what I mean? There's multiple ways to do it. You can do it the hard way or the easy way, and usually whoever's in charge knows their one way. So like, if they're teaching you, they're only teaching you the one way. And if you go like, if they say, this happened to me a lot, where it's like, oh, and I do a lot too, I'm not gonna lie. So I'll be like, oh, this is how you use a compressor, and then I'm like, this is how I compress my vocals, and then it's like, and then all of a sudden they start compressing, and I'm like, no, you gotta put the ratio here, and then you have to bring up the threshold here, and it's just like, let them learn, you know what I mean? Let them figure out how to get from point A to point B. So I see that a lot in the music industry, which is, it's just a fun fact, I guess, if anybody else is in the music industry.
I mean, it's pretty much anywhere with anything.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's like, most of the times that this happens, it's because somebody is in a position where they worked very hard to achieve what they achieved. Like, this is we deal with a lot of people who own businesses and who started their own companies and things like that, and those are the people who usually have the hardest time with this process, because their company or their product is their baby, where it's all like, they started this company by themselves or with one other or two other people, and they were the ones who manually, like we use the expression all the time, they released the angel from the marble. Like, they chiseled away and they created this thing, and now for them to hand it over to somebody else it's not only like a financial difficulty, it's an emotional challenge as well.
Yeah.
Like, they're invested in what they've made.
Right. And it's weird. It's a control thing, and we can see, and we've talked about it on the show a bunch of times too. You don't have success without a successor, and like, if your business lives and dies by you, I mean, you can take we can just get real and take my parents for it. It's like, my parents wouldn't have been able to make it to the size that they were, make it as far as they were, if they didn't trust their employees to do their job. It's like, okay, well, we trained you. When you get to a certain scale, you can only get so big until you can't wear every hat in the building. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to trust you that you can run this machine. I'm going to have to trust you that you can pick this order. I have to trust you that you'll go and manage other people for me, because I'm too busy doing bill paying and whatever else. And I mean, it's really easy to fall into that. If you stay small and you wear every hat, if you don't start delegating those hats off, you won't be able to grow, because you don't have enough limbs to do it.
That's one of the biggest mistakes as like as small business owners and freelancers is that one factor of, yeah, you got it started, you did really well, and now it's running, and you are the only person making it run. Which means that if you take a day off, the business takes a day off.
Yep.
Which means that if you're sick, the business is sick. Which means that if you're having a bad day, the business is having a bad day. And everything runs and breathes through you, which is...
That's not success.
It's not success, because you can never walk away from that.
Well, it's funny. That's success to a point. You get successful, you hit the check mark, and then if it dips below that bar again, like, how do I say? It's like, you get the achievement, but then it has to stay at that level, or else it's not success.
Exactly, and it's very hard to maintain that alone, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see, especially with freelance. It's something that I made for a long time, where it was just like, I as a small business, as a freelancer, it's like, okay, I need a logo, and then you're just like, I'm just gonna make my own logo, and then you make your own logo, and then you're like, oh, I need an invoice, like a cool design invoice. I'm gonna make my own design invoice, and then you're like, I probably shouldn't be the person that's like doing all the parts of the music, but you know what, I'm the only person here, so I have to be the only person doing it, and then all of a sudden you become in this cycle where like, you are just every piece of the puzzle, and and now you have to worry about every detail. You micromanage your own business, and it's great until you want to grow, because once you want to grow, you've already maxed yourself out. There's nothing more you can do. So it's a hard thing to do, but training people to step in and take care of the things that you don't like doing is step one.
Or even if or even bigger than like, if you like it or not. It's just like having somebody else take care of that load and be able to trust them with it, so that you can move on to something different.
Yeah, you don't like accounting? cool. Not a lot of people do, but there are some people that love accounting. Pay somebody. You know what I mean? Take that part out of you, and it's like that's the crazy part for them. Like I could never afford that. You can't afford that if you want to, and it's just making that the priority. So if you want growth and you're spending 7 to 8 hours a week on your accounting, you know what I mean? Good for you. That's a lot of numbers. Great. But you should probably pay somebody to take care of that because that's a whole day on your part. You know what I mean? And you could open that whole day up to do something more important and more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. There was somebody I was listening to a while back. They said companies hire people 6 months later than they should. And that's it's a very dangerous situation to be in because now you've segmented productivity for 6 months when you didn't have to. And being able, it's really like shifting a car where it's like there's a point to shift that gets you the highest return for the shift, you know, and if you shift earlier than that, you're not really getting the full value, and if you shift later than that, you're not getting the full value. But there's a position where it makes sense to get another employee. And a lot of companies think, oh, if we just wait, productivity will still go up a little bit more, and then we'll eventually get an employee that will replace this issue. But it's like, no, you're just gonna get overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're screaming at red line.
Exactly, and it's not efficient.
Absolutely, and a lot of, like you said, most businesses that's a big problem that they have. And it's an easy thing to fall into though, because it's like if you're in it, you're blind. Yeah, you know what I mean. You're in the masa. You're not like. Everything's going fine. Everything goes fine until it doesn't. You know what I mean? Until you hit that point where like, oh crap.
Right. I mean, you can only maintain red line for so long until the oil can't keep up and you blow a head gasket.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is like we have to really be aware of our own business and where things go. And we can't be. It takes money to make money.
Yes.
So we have to take our minds off of like, oh, it's going to be another expense if I have to bring someone in, and it's like, well, it's an expense that's going to make you more money because it's going to make you more efficient. For the most, as long as you make the right hire, that's another conversation.
It might be uncomfortable, but it's a control thing too. It's like, well, you have to be able to actually trust somebody to be able to do it. One of the benefits of not micromanaging or being able to delegate work to a trusted employee or trusted
employees. You can go
employees.
to the beach after.
Yes.
No, that's legit.
No, but even so, there's a thing of checks and balances. I mean, I can just use a personal example of the job I do now. The job I do now, I can do every single job in my vicinity, in the entire facility.
Yeah.
But the fact of if I mess up in any one of those aspects, I don't have anybody to catch my mistake. So I can cook it twice as hard if I do the inbounds and the putaways, if that makes sense. Like, so the stuff comes in, I enter in what the product is, how much it is, whatever it looks like, the description, all my paperwork, bang, it's in the computer. Now, if I go and do the next step in our checks and balances process, which I can do, I have liberty to do it, doesn't mean that I should, because if I don't check it, or if I just like, oh, I'm the one who took it in, yeah that's right, that's fine, that's good.
That's exactly what it is.
I'm not accountable for any of my actions until it's way, way too late.
Yeah.
Or even if you don't notice them, where it's not even like an active decision that you're saying, oh, I'm going to mess this up. Or it's like if I'm the only piece of this puzzle, if I don't know how to do this correctly, if I do, it's like back in school when you were doing math. It's like you're the only one doing the math problem. You mess up at the top, you get the wrong answer, and you're like, you did all the right steps, except you missed a part of it.
You
carries
put
out.
a 4 instead of a 5 here, and then everything is wrong.
And yet that's the same thing.
Exactly, and it's important to have that check and balance system in any business or in anything really. I think that checks and balances are great.
And not only that, it's not only having a checks and balances system with an employee, it's having a checks and balances system with an employee that is willing to tell you or trusts you enough as an employer to tell you that something is wrong. This has happened to me and I've seen it happen before, and it's all like, if you have an employer who asks you a question and then you tell them an answer and then they snap on you and tell you that it's not relevant.
Yeah.
The next time that situation happens, they're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you ask, why do none of my employees tell me when I mess up? And it's like, because you don't accept the critique that they give.
You don't handle people well.
Exactly.
That's really what that is.
And that happens a lot. And that's not just like, that's not like a segmented thing. That's like a lot of employers have been burned so many times. And this is where employee manager or employee boss relations really issues stem from, is like the idea of, my boss doesn't care about me, or my boss doesn't trust me, or my boss doesn't do anything. It's like, if you hire somebody to do a job and you trust them enough to do the job, they're probably going to be happy. And they'll probably be fine staying.
The more you trust your employees, the happier they are to be there. It's just a fact. I mean, it's a fact for me. If I'm at a job and I'm there, I mean, I'm not saying first day in the gate. I mean, it takes time. But if I've been there for a year and I still don't have any type of leeway of trust, it's like I don't want to be there anymore. You obviously don't trust me enough to even open the doors,
or even something like that. Like, okay, I trust you to do your job. I've managed every little aspect of what you do. If you're not allowed to actually have the investment into what you do, because it gets picked apart, every little thing, like every little personal flair and touch that you bring into it, it's like, okay, well then why do I do this job? Just to get my paycheck. The end.
The end, exactly. And it's different depending on the size of the company too, because there are even in corporations you'll find managers that still micromanage, and they don't know how to stop micromanaging, and it's not their baby either. So it's an interesting place when you see those kind of. It's just, and that goes back to it's their trust issues in them where they literally don't know how to they don't trust themselves, so they can't trust anybody else.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different levels to this depending on where you are in whatever industry.
And sometimes there's a place to filter it out and eat the meat and spit out the bones. Like if you have an employee and you let them go, you let them do their job, you trust them to do their job, but you don't let them have their little bobblehead on their desk or put a picture of the kids on their desk or everything. Like those little things like that don't concern you so per se. Like if it's that little taste that makes them comfortable in their environment, so be it, because that's what helps them work better.
I agree. I agree with that.
There is, however, a part where this goes the opposite direction. There's micromanagement, and then there's also just I don't care.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's like there are managers who are so involved in the process, and there are managers who do not even know what products the company makes, and it's it's unfortunately true. And then there's the managers who say, no, you can't have a picture of your kids on the table, and there's managers who are like, you showed up at 3 hours late. He's like, I don't really care.
Dude, you see it. Well, I mean, it's changed a little bit, but you see it in the seafood industry all the time. It's like, it doesn't matter. I don't care what you do. I don't care how high you have to get. I don't care how drunk you are right now.
Yeah.
As long as your job gets done.
Yeah.
So be it. No, but that's legit. That was the waterfront.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I can imagine. It's interesting because. And then the other aspect of it is especially I'm looking at it on high level stuff when you're looking at corporations and stuff. But everyone is good at something. Even at a manager level, there's that one manager who's just really good at managing people. There's the other manager who's really good at managing workloads. There's another manager who's just he's just not really good at anything. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's right. That's when you cut your losses.
Yeah, and so this is very important to remember that one person is not going to be able to do everything. And you just have to find their strengths, and those are the things that you have to trust. You have to trust people's strengths. So if somebody comes up to you and you can tell you've seen them in action, and obviously you hopefully don't just hire them into your manager position. You have them work for you first. But anyways, you see that they are good at managing people. You're going to put them in the best possible place so that they can succeed, not in a place where they're going to struggle.
Theoretically.
In theory. You're going to want to stretch them so that they can get better at what they do. Don't put them in a box. But you want to put them in the best place possible. This is all in best case scenario, in the best place possible to succeed. Because you don't want to put your employees in a place that they're going to fail, because then they're going to hold that against you.
That's a much larger topic, and I do want to talk about that because there's some nuances with that, and we're out of time for this block, but we're going to come back and we'll talk about that.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, because I've seen people. Thankfully, none of my managers have done this, but it's I've seen people who are their employee did something better than they could, and it was all well, there has to be something wrong, because if I couldn't produce this much content in this amount of time, then nobody can do that much. And it's
I'll tell you, there are people that I've never went through it personally, thankfully, but I do know people who are close to me who'd work in those types of environments where when they'd start doing too well, they almost get sabotaged in order to be like everyone else, slow down, stop showing off kind of thing.
Lane,
yeah, stay in your lane kind of thing. And that's an interesting, and that depends on the industry, I suppose. But thankfully, I've never been through that, because I wouldn't have handled that one well.
Oh no, I wouldn't.
Hey, you know what? Before we step forward, I think it's time to roll in the jingle.
Practical life application.
Whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Tyler
yeah.
loves this jingle.
Hey, if we made it, like,
It's ours.
why not use it? Hey,
We
don't
have full copyrights.
don't micromanage
Yeah.
my job over here,
There you go.
okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Stay over there.
I'll stay over here. Over here.
Over here.
Over here. It's like it's a jokey little thing, but it's all like
Jokey joke.
It's all like you talk about like construction as an example, where it's all like a man laid 1,000 bricks.
Uh-huh.
And it's all like, guy, back when I was that young and back when I was laying bricks, I could only lay 200 bricks in that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you don't take into account all of the training and all of the
Right.
learning and all of the
Guy, you didn't have power tools.
yeah.
Yeah.
You had a buch and
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all like, well, if Manny's laying 1,000 bricks, he's obviously doing it wrong, because there's no way you can lay 1,000
bricks and it be right. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because you're moving too fast and there's got to be some crooked lines. So I'm going to over here and I'm going to start looking for stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then it gets worse and worse because you find no problems, and then you're like, Manny, this is the wrong type of brick, and it's like, no, it's not.
And then in reality, you just found out that like, oh, Manny just had two really good laborers that got him bricks faster than you ever got bricks.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. It's like the team around it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You give somebody the right tools, they're gonna succeed.
Yeah.
And I was saying off camera, well, on camera, off mic, that I think that one of the biggest problems that we have when people go into management is, especially if they go from being an employee, one of the workers on the line, doing the work, doing a great job because you got the promotions, because you were the best employee that was there, and then you became a manager and you still continue to be the employee that you were
Yes.
thinking that this is why they gave me the promotion, so this is what I need to do.
yeah, 'cause I
have
was
to-
a good employee.
I was the good employee. I have to keep making the perfect product. So I have to make sure that everyone that's under me makes the perfect product. When in reality, that's not your job anymore. Your job now is to produce the best people. And that's something that is the hardest transition for somebody to understand. And if it's not well explained, even if it is, I've heard it well explained and people still fail to understand that transition because you're no longer being paid to make the shingle anymore or make the brick.
Yeah.
You're now being paid to make the best people making the bricks. It's their job to make the bricks now. It's not yours. Take your hands off.
You focus on the framework, not the shingles, not the details.
Exactly. You teach these people how to be like you.
Absolutely. And I think that a thing that a lot of people forget is that there's a difference between managers and employees. Just mentally, like
Yeah.
not like the people
go ahead.
themselves, but like
You're saying it right.
the like the Wuntat, the desire to want to do something. If you start a pizza company, okay, and you're the one cooking the pizzas, you're gonna be placing down the pepperoni nice and slow to make sure it looks good because you have to make a name for yourself
Yeah.
in that industry.
Yeah.
So you're this guy who has so much invested in this, it's your baby. And then you hire somebody to be the chef and they're throwing around the pepperoni because they're only getting paid like $11, $12, $13 an hour. They're getting paid. Yeah, Kobe. Kobeing the pepperoni onto the pizza. But it's like they're not invested as you are because they're not an owner.
Yeah.
And you can't expect an employee to come in and say, I'm going to give my life for this company because that's not reasonable.
And practical life application, while we're right there, is one way to combat that is to allow your employees to have an investment in whatever level they're doing. Whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's financial, make sure that they have an investment. We were talking about it. Something I commend Starbucks for, which Starbucks employees still, most of them probably don't even realize. But I guess you get
3
like one
million of them. Go
you
ahead,
get
sorry.
like one stock for working there for like a year or whatever. Like they'll give you stock in the company.
Yeah.
As like the subconscious thing of like, oh, I own a little piece of this company, therefore I should take care of it the way that it is.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
translates into really anybody. It's like, okay, well, I give you this job, you can give it your personal touch, you can give it your personal flair, you can use the best of your faculties. This is yours. Now you own it.
Yeah, that's why they're department heads.
Definitely.
Like that's why titles are so important. Like people are shifting away
Structure,
from
yeah.
titles and structure, and
Yeah.
it's all like we're all this big team, and it's like, okay, like calm down. Like there's a reason why titles were invented.
Right, and now if everybody has the title or nobody has the title,
Yeah.
it makes no difference. Not everybody could be Moses.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had a generation of like 40,000 Moses. It's like not everybody can lead everybody
Absolutely.
and go to the top of the mountain.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Another big practical life application, I believe, is communication. I think that's going to be the biggest factor here, especially as an owner talking to your managers or talking to or translating to the next person that you want to do your job. Once you get to that point, like, I want to let go and I want somebody to do this for me. I think communication is key. We're going to go back to that pizza topic where it was like, okay, this guy was just on a throw on pizza. I think that the reason he was throwing on the pepperoni and the pizza so quick is because my first thought when I go into a new job is I need to get this job done as fast as possible.
Yes.
But I didn't realize, because it wasn't communicated, that the number one priority for this new owner of mine or this new boss of mine, he wants quality.
Yeah.
But if you didn't communicate that quality is number one, my first instinct is let's get this pizza done fast and out the door as fast as possible. And because you didn't communicate it, you're gonna get and I think that communication is key on everything.
That really translates into translates into that book idea that I was talking about. And it's number one, like so you train your employee, you train them exactly how you want. It's like, okay, buddy, you're making this pizza. Make sure that there's 10 pieces of pepperoni on it and they're equally spread. All right. I can see that you're competent enough to put 10 pepperonis on this pizza, whether you do it or not. Like,
you're competent enough.
Well, I mean, that's how my brain structures it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're competent enough to do this job. I told you exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I've seen that you can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I held your hand for maybe the first pizza
Yep.
to show you how to stretch the dough. It's like, all right, go ahead. I'll be back in a little bit. And then you empower that person to be able to do what's right or what's wrong once they're trained in knowing what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, incredibly huge.
And blending what you two have been saying, the idea that you have to communicate and the idea that there has to be a focus on something specific, that has to be maintained. I've seen so many managers who, for the first week of somebody being there, they're like, you got to make the pizza this way. You got to have 10 pieces of pepperoni. And then every once in a while, like, they'll miss one and then nobody will care.
Yeah.
And then it's all like, oh, then what's the
What's
point?
the point?
Yeah.
And then 9 turns into 8. Turns into 12.
And then you
turns
get 3
into
slices.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like you don't know what you're getting for a pizza because it didn't matter. It's all made up and the points don't matter.
And then one day the boss comes in, he says, "Why is there 13 on this pizza?"
Yeah.
And then it's a big deal, but it's like now you're confused as to why it's a big deal. And,
Yeah.
and now it's like the boss is just reaming me for no reason because I've been doing this for months.
The consistency is really the key too. It's like you lay the rules. I mean, it's like training a dog, or I mean, I guess having a kid. It's the same thing. It's like you can't punish somebody without defining the terms. You define the terms, and then you stick to them, and that's it.
And please don't get stuck on the idea of like, guys, like it's just 3 more pieces of pepperoni. Who cares if there's 3 more? That's the beginning of this issue.
Yeah.
Because if you don't care about the 13 pieces, there's a difference between being militaristic.
It's
and
whatever.
having problems.
It's whatever. Like, this is just an example.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone's counting the amount of pepperoni,
No.
but it's the quality. You know what I mean? If you as an owner have always put quality first, and you're afraid to put your hands off of it because you think your quality is going to diminish, it will. If you don't communicate and enforce and be consistent with
I
it.
think it still will, because you're so tapped wearing every single hat in the department that eventually you're gonna get burnt out, and then you're gonna be so tired that you can't even focus to put 10 on.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think eventually you're gonna just
And then
quit.
it's like you'll end up either making every pizza with 8 because you can't muster up the strength to put 10 anymore.
That's going to be an interesting conversation. Guys, the bills went up. We're going down to 8 slices this month.
And everybody's like, oh.
No, but I mean, I hope that picture's not getting lost in the pizza analogy.
You know, I think it's actually really good, and you can translate that to anything. Where if you have to put whatever it's important to you. If customer service is your number one thing, then you put that first, and you ensure that I don't care how much money it is to make this customer happy. I want you to make the customer happy.
Well, we talk about Chris Valentin all the time. I mean, that was a wonderful lesson learned by Chris. He's like, okay, well, hey, he owned a parts shop. It's like, gives all of his employees, you got a $50 budget. I don't care what I don't care what you do. I don't care what you spend it on. If this person comes, if they're not happy, you can discount and work things up until $50, and I will give you. Use your best judgment. I won't harp on you if you do that up until $50.
Exactly. I worked a job that had the same exact thing in place. It was the same thing, and it was awesome because it gave, and everybody in the building had that same power. And what it did is it took the stress away from the managers because they don't have to go and run over here for $3.50 worth of problems. You know what I mean? If it's more than $50, call somebody. But it really minimized like the workload there for them, and it gave it gave the other side of it. So if you have to give your employees the tools that they need in order to succeed with what you want. You know what I mean? You can't say make customer service first, but don't you ever take a discount. Like, that's not what they need to make that happen. Like, what do you want them to do? Like, kiss their feet instead?
Yeah, you don't give them any liberty. It's like, if you need a discount or if you need anything at all, you have to come to me. If the sale doesn't go perfect, everything comes to me. I need to know. I need to know.
But customer service is number one, and I want you to do the absolute best that you can do. And it's just like,
Okay, my customer services funnel everybody to you.
Yeah. and the only thing that happens when you do that is that customers will be like, the people who are doing the retail aspect of it will just not ring up parts or not do stuff. Like, it'll just be like I've seen so many people who are like, okay, you have to run everything through a manager, and then they're scanning stuff, and they're just like, whatever, and they just like give away product, or
absolutely.
Oh,
they give away, like,
because they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with you yelling at them for something that's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, this is just easier if I just like pretend like I didn't see this. You know?
and side note, since we have 3 minutes left, this is kind of a shift. There's also a difference between having employees and having mindless drones.
Oh,
there
absolutely.
are people who are managers
Sorry.
or who are owners who will say to somebody, where it'd be like, listen, you fulfill this one task. You take the boxes from here and you put them there. That is all you're ever going to do for this company. And it's like basically saying to the employee, if I could replace you with a shoebox that did this job, I would. And it's like, how do you expect your employees to care at all about your company if you essentially told them, I literally don't care about you as a person?
Or even coupled with that, if you as a manager want to breed just a bunch of yes men, that's the same thing. It's like, I don't care what you have to say. It's either I want you to do exactly what I say, exactly the way that I just said it, without any kind of feedback about it, or you can get lost. It's like, well, you're not gonna have people that follow you unless they're happy about that.
Or if they do it, that's all they're ever going to do.
Yeah.
And don't ask them to do anything else.
Don't ask me to do anything else because I'm waiting for you.
And that's a very difficult situation to be in, because for the manager, you look out on your sea of employees and you're like, this is so inefficient because everybody only does one thing if they do anything. And it's all like, as an employee, you're like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this job? Why am I just getting this paycheck if all I can ever do is move boxes from this point to that point?
Yeah, and that's where micromanagement comes in. It basically takes people's liberty to do their job. And that's the number one killer from micromanaging.
Absolutely. All you do is make people very upset with you. I saw it happen at the beginning of the
Oh,
show.
you saw it with Benji, yeah.
Yeah, it's something as simple as that, and it was perfect because it really, that's exactly what happens in the working environment too. If you have a manager that micromanages you, you feel angry. You feel like this is not for me, and I have zero liberty.
Well, I mean, imagine how you would feel if you had to do something on the computer, and all of a sudden somebody trained you to do it.
And then all of
Taught
a
you
sudden-
exactly how to do it, and then came and sat right around you
And just
with their front to your back,
or even better, like no, and then they ask you to move, and then they end
Yeah.
up sitting in your
Yeah.
seat, and they just type it out for
and
you.
then they just do it.
What am I here for? You know what I
I
mean?
mean, I'll stand here. I'll go get a coffee.
It's like I'll go home.
Yeah, or whatever it is. I mean, I think it's even worse. Somebody sitting behind you with their hands like over your shoulders while your hands are on the keyboard still, and they're just like.
That's sexual harassment. I'm calling. I'm talking to HR if that happens to me.
To all of the managers, your employees are humans. Don't forget that they're people, and that they genuinely, at the end of the day, as much as they love the paycheck or don't like the paycheck, not really relevant.
Has nothing to do with
Humans want to be productive. Humans want to achieve something, and if you don't give them something to achieve, they're gonna get.
I mean,
antsy.
just look at America. Your basic human rights given by God: life, liberty, and the ability to own property. I mean, that you summed up what it is in a nutshell under a business. It's like you need life. The money gives you life. I mean, in America, that's how it rolls.
Yep.
Liberty, the freedom to be able to do your job, and then owning property. It's like having ownership of your position or job.
Absolutely. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a really good wrap up, and I guess we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Life Podcast Show. We really appreciate all your support. We meet every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning just to talk and share our perspectives on everyday life situations. If you haven't already, please share this with your friends and give them a chance to join the conversation. Also, if you liked what you heard today, rate our podcast. The higher the rating, the longer we can keep this going. And a special thanks to our future sponsors that will soon partner with us on this journey. If anyone would like to contact us, please email us at thelifepodcastshow@gmail.com. One word. That's thelifepodcastshow@gmail.com. Be blessed and have a wonderful day.